This week on Supercars Talk, Lowndes and Reynolds firm up their 2024 plans while Scott Pye puts himself out on the market. The big news this week is actually a little bit different to normal. Craig Lowndes has announced that he and Supercheap Auto will be with Triple8 for another 2 years at least. This basically guarantees he will be spearheading an endurance wildcard with Triple8 with Supercheap backing for at least 2 more years. It's great to see that program continue. I really hope in the future, like we're seeing it this year, we have got a couple more wildcards there with the DJR and the Blanchards one. I really hope that we get to see more teams doing this with Gen 3, hopefully with the cars being more equal, easier to build over time, and yeah, keep them in the running. But it is, when you're talking about like SVG going overseas and things like that, it is really good to see, you know, one of the biggest names in our category, even though he's not full-time in that anymore, but to sign up for the endurance campaign for at least a couple more years. We get to see that, yeah, that smiling face out there in the endurance races, and being in Triple8 machinery, being Craig Lowndes, sure to be a competitive seat to bring on, yeah, hopefully bring on a young bloke, or, you know, give someone like Zane Goddard a second chance. On the full-time driver market front though, we had a bit more movement once again this week. Scott Pye came out and I can't remember if it was the team or Scott Pye first, but it was announced he would not be continuing with Team18 after the end of this season. So it was fully expected. Well, the Dave Reynolds announcement will be coming very shortly, and sure enough, it did. Dave Reynolds has been confirmed that he will be Team18's lead or second driver next year, depends on how you look at it and how the results go. No mention about the Penrite backing, so yeah, this one, if this is where I find it very difficult. If it was up to me, I would have been trying to, you know, if I was in charge at Walkinshaws, I would have been trying to get David Reynolds for that second seat next to Chaz Mostert. Now, for similar reasons, but not, I wouldn't be going for him for Team18. I think Team18, where they are, they probably need a young charger to kind of push that team forward. Dave Reynolds, proven, we know where his ceiling is. He's not going to go out and win a championship or anything. Yes, he might be able to drive the team a bit further to the front, but that's kind of what they got Winterbottom for. They just seem to have 2 drivers there to do the same thing. I really liked the idea of them getting Ryan Wood in there as, you know, a young gun to push that team forward. Now, why I think he would have been a better fit at Walkinshaw is obviously they need to sort out that second car, why that second car is not competitive. And getting someone in who's quite proven and has, you know, kind of built with teams in the past, yeah, you would have been good in that position. It just, it's a tough one. He's just probably going to have midfield results with Team18 as they have been doing with Pye and Winterbottom. Of course, Winterbottom did have that win in Darwin, but as we go through, of course, Triple8 are just getting more and more consistent with their results with this car. I can see teams like the Groves actually moving forward over the next few years because of their big investments and that. I think Charlie's just going to be a mid-pack team where if you did invest in a young driver who could potentially be the next big thing, you could, like Scott McLaughlin at Gary Rogers Motorsport, you could leapfrog a little bit if you struck the right balance with, you know, driver and engineer and that kind of thing. Whereas I think we know where Dave Reynolds' ceiling is. Yeah, that's my opinion on that. Obviously, the teams have a very different opinion to me because they're not doing what I would do. And yeah, I mean, I could be totally wrong on these calls, but that's the way I see it. So now with the driver market as it is, the big seat now still available is the MSR seat that Jack Le Brocq is vacating. The hot rumour at the moment is James Courtney. Yeah, because, you know, he used to drive for the Stone Brothers, so naturally he'll go and drive for Matt Stone. He does, I mean, he's a former champion, has a lot of marketing potential, still quick at times. Could be the best bet for that seat. Yeah, I might not totally agree with that, but yeah, that's the hot rumor right now. And then the two Blanchard seats are, you know, probably the only other ones that have got big question marks on them. We fully expect Ryan Wood to end up at Walkinshaws, BJR to keep their lineup. It looks like Premier will be keeping their lineup as well, and Tickford will be a Waters and Randall affair. Yeah, so everyone's kind of linked to the Blanchards at the moment. I think Aaron Love's probably got one of those seats pretty much. The big, it looks like Todd Hazelwood might not be back there. So then, yeah, the guys who are available right now, without even really getting into the Super 2 field, of course, Zach Best, he's definitely, yeah, he probably should be having a seat somewhere, but he's looking like he might miss out on the merry-go-round once again. Obviously, we've got Scott Pye looking for a seat somewhere. Courtney's a little bit question marky. I think he's probably going to end up somewhere, but yeah, nothing confirmed yet. Fraser's, yeah, he could be a good one there at Blanchard's as well. Comes with a bit of funding, and yeah, his results have been probably worse than what Jake Kostecki's were last year, actually, which Jake Kostecki is another one who is on the outside looking in. Todd Hazelwood, of course, he needs to find a home somewhere. I can see him ending up a Plum co-drive somewhere. I think if he's out of time at Blanchard's, I don't see him getting a main game seat anywhere. And Zane Goddard, I think it hinges a little bit on how good he looks next to Craig Lowndes in that wild card. But yeah, he could, you know, he's another guy who's looking for a full-time seat still. Barry Rogers came out this week complaining that Supercars is hurting the ARG categories because of their super license system. Now, it's time for me to have a rant about the ARG categories. Apparently, this might be the final year for S5000 because it's so tough for all of them because you can't get a Supercars super license if you're driving S5000. I haven't looked at the actual points, but you do get points in all these categories towards getting your super license. Obviously, there was a Trans Am thing with Richie Hearn the other year where he couldn't get a Bathurst start because he'd been doing Trans Am, didn't get enough points. In some ways, I can understand it. They're trying to protect Super 2 and whatever. We're trying not to have things like inexperienced guys rocking up, not doing the thing, doing the right thing. Could Richie Hearn have been fine? Probably. There is ways around it. Some people have got exemptions, some people haven't. But I just find it very, like, your business model is wrong, and you're trying to blame it on someone else because you've invested money in the wrong places. So the ARG categories as we know them, S5000, from day one when this was all announced, like when it was going to be the Thunder 5000 series or something, what's the point of it? It's not a junior category. It's if you're a well, you know, done well for yourself businessman kind of thing and wants to go racing, you're probably not going to be jumping into you know, an S5000 type category. You're going to go GT racing. So this isn't a stepping stone as well to go overseas. If you have a Formula 1 dream or IndyCar dream, you know, you aren't going to, you know, do normal Formula Ford or whatever and then at the time step into Formula 4 or whatever and then well, you're supposed to do Formula 3, which has disappeared here as well, and then go S5000, and then go overseas and basically, you know, go back to a Formula 4 category. No, you know, you might do Formula Ford here, then go overseas to extend your career if you want to do open wheelers. Guys like, it's like Daniel Ricciardo, Oscar Piastri, they're not guys who stuck around in Australia they went overseas to do their open wheel stuff, because that's how you get to Formula 1. Here, if you're hanging around, you're going to supercars essentially. Obviously, there's guys like Scott McLaughlin and Shane Van Gisbergen that have kind of bucked the trend, but they're very special cases as well. So I don't really, I've never seen the point of S5000. Yep, they look cool, they sound cool, rah rah, but what is the actual point of it? The people with money who want to go racing, they'll go and buy themselves a Ferrari or Porsche or whatever and do GT racing. And then for young blokes who want to, you know, make it up, it's not a stepping stone to supercars. It's not a stepping stone to open wheelers overseas. Like, enough of a rant about that. TCR. Well, they were propping up the category from day one. You cannot do that indefinitely. And if you're doing that, then the teams that are in there for the wrong reasons. So it's why you've seen, like, you know, the Kellys come and go from it because the funding's not there. It's why the grid sizes are down now, because they're not propping it up as much. Yes, it's a way of getting it to look a lot better right at the start. You prop it up, you know, you buy cars and get people to run them and whatever. But then you have this drop when that funding dries up. So you would have probably been better off with TCR. This is what they tried with Super Touring and it flopped. You probably would have been better off maybe assisting some people at the start, but starting off with, you know, a smaller grid, even if you'd start off with 8 to 10 cars, have them, you know, slowly build up with people who are actually there for the right reasons. Yeah, it's in Australia, and we are very down supercars. Like, you need a V8 for it to be a proper racing category, it seems. TCR, it's got a long way. No matter what people say, oh, we want to see cars that people actually buy. Well, that's what, you know, the super utes are. That's what people are buying, is super utes and SUVs and stuff. People aren't buying Honda Accord Type Rs or whatever, and they're not buying Mustangs and Camaros either. Yeah, we in general, Australia wants to see V8s racing. Yeah, Trans Am, this makes sense, but this is probably more you know, what Super 3 should kind of turn into, possibly a cheap stepping stone to get to supercars. It's not a finishing category. It's a very cheap way to get some sedan experience with a V8 rear-wheel drive, rah. It is what it is. It's never going to be the top category here, no matter what people say. If it did somehow progress to be the top category, like, these cars couldn't go and do Bathurst the way they are, blah, blah, blah. And when you start modifying them to do things like that, they end up being what the Gen 3 cars are anyway. It has its place, but it's not going to prop up the whole ARG thing. GT racing in there, they're, you know, for the amateur guys that have made a lot of money in business and want to go racing, they go and buy their Porsches and Ferraris, or your Rene Gracies out there. That's fine. There's always a place for that. Touring Car Masters, this is pretty cool, but once again, it's got out of hand with people building full-on, you know, Gen 3 Falcons to go and race in the category. It's ridiculous when some of the figures that you hear bouncing around are what some of the guys have spent to run in the front of that category. Yeah, it's very questionable. Yeah, bring it back a bit for amateur racing guys. And the Kumo V8s, which, you know, it's a stepping stone. It's essentially Super 4 at the moment. It's a stepping stone before you go Super 3, Super 2, Supercars racing. So, yeah, there's a lot of the ARG stuff that they do quite well, but you've got to, this is amateur level racing that they're trying to make it with TCR and S5000. They're trying to make it top tier, and it's not. To me, they should be focusing, you know, we're amateur based. We're not, we're not going to take on supercars. We're the next level down, and that's where they should be. And trying to get some of the categories like Touring Cars Masters, you know, on the supercar support category at some places, and accepting that, you know, then the GTs and that can be top billing at their solo rounds. And yeah, you don't need a big TV deal and whatever on it. The big mistake going for that Stan TV deal. At least a lot of people have Foxtel or KO because of, you know, AFL, Supercars, F1. I have a Stan subscription for IndyCar. I absolutely love that, and I'm willing to pay for it, but I know I talk to a lot of fringe motorsport people that will pay for KO because they get their AFL and then they can watch F1, and they might check out a Supercars race every now and again, but they're not going to pay for Stan for IndyCar. There's no way they're going to pay for Stan, you know, to watch a WEC race or to watch TCR. So you're focusing that fan base on the hardcore fan, which, as much as we love these racing categories, we're definitely in the minority in Australia. Yeah, football and then probably cricket, you know, they're really the top of the landscape. If you're an ARG thing, you either need to be on free-to-air to capture the people who aren't paying, you know, they want to watch a sport that aren't going to pay for your Foxtel KO subscription, or you want to be on the, I suppose, the highest kind of subscribe to sports subscription in Australia. That yeah, you know, a lot of people complain about the Foxtel deal with Supercars being a short-term, you know, money grab kind of thing. This really bad short-term money grab. So in conclusion, ARG kind of pinning it on yeah, the super license system, which is hurting their categories. Yeah, very tenuous thing. But anyway, yeah, let me know down in the comments, do you agree, do you disagree? Obviously, you know, we're hardcore motorsport fans, so we want to see more motorsport. I'm not saying TCR is bad or whatever, but just, you know, maybe they've gone about it kind of the wrong way. Maybe they yeah, it's going to be a hard sell for them over the next couple of years, especially as, you know, at the moment with interest rates and everything, sponsorship money is drying up. So yeah, this very short video I thought this week has turned into quite a long one, really. Just a little thing I want to cover off as well. I was on a podcast the other week, the Force Feedback Show, so search for that in your podcatcher of choice. I had a bit of a chat with Josh and Matt about Shane Van Gisbergen and going to NASCAR, and yeah, just a bit of a general chat. It is a podcast focused more on the NASCAR side of things, but yeah, they wanted my expert opinion from the supercars side of things to fill in some gaps about Shane Van Gisbergen and the state of supercars and him going over there. So check that out and let me know how I went on it, and yeah, if you're going to subscribe to it or not. Yeah, hopefully I'll be a guest on there a bit more often as well, depending on yeah, how our timetables line up. It's a little bit hard with people being in different parts of the world, but we'll work around it, and I'll jump on there a bit more. So keep an eye out for future episodes with me on there. But yeah, let me know down in the comments, yeah, who are your predictions of who's going to end up where on the Supercars grid next year, and what do you think about Barry Rogers blaming Supercars on ARG's failures this year? Until next time, I'm still Dave, and I'll catch you later.